Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Let's go ahead and recap yesterday. Another brutal one, man. I'm at a loss for words, honestly, kind of how this is kind of playing out for me the last couple of days. Tyrese Halliburton, over 30.5 PRA. Game was projected at a 236 total, highest I think I've seen this season. It went 46 points under the projected total. That's a lot of points, guys. Really, that's what it came down to. With like 6 minutes left in the third quarter, both teams were shooting about 38% from the field. Halliburton can't get any assists. If his teammates aren't making shots, he can't get any points if he's not making any shots. So I think he went to the half with like 8 points and assists, and then finished with the game with 27. Got injured with a couple minutes left in the game. It's pretty hard to think that he wouldn't have gotten those last 4 in that last couple minutes of the game, especially because it was close. So the lock of the day, the wagon that everybody took yesterday, ended up not hitting. I know everyone was like, man, this, everyone's taking Tyrese. How can I take him? I mean, you'd be crazy to take his under. It's the league's best passer or assist, the league's leader in assists, taking on the defense that gives up the most assists. So, I mean, it was a match made in heaven. Just didn't play out yesterday. Really, like I said, just came down to them not shooting well. 38% from the field, where both teams were shooting at one point in that game. More than halfway through the game. So just really bad shooting. It's kind of what shot down that Tyrese Halliburton line. Steven Adams, I guess you could kind of say Jaren Jackson Jr. kind of affected his rebounding totals just a little bit. They both rebounded. I think they both had like 7-8 rebounds. Both did Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson. So didn't get in foul trouble. Just played over 20 minutes. Didn't hit his line. The first time all season, or I guess it's the second time all season where he played over 20 minutes, didn't get in foul trouble, and did hit his line. So of course the time I'd take him would be the time that he wouldn't hit. So Steven Adams I think only got about 7 boards. And then Randall comes up just a little bit short, led the way there for the Knicks yesterday, but due to a little bit of a blowout there from the Warriors, Randall doesn't hit his line, comes up, just a few short did Randall. So yeah, over 3 day, we got to take the wins with the losses, man. I always am going to own up to the wins and the losses. Just really came up short, just a little bit short on a couple guys. If I could go back and do it again, I'd still take the same bets. Just came up just a little bit short with those guys. So, back to the drawing board. Last couple of days, it's just been really bad. It's obviously been awful last couple of days. So got back to the drawing board. Been at it for a while this morning. Really trying to just find holes in lines. And I'm not just gonna. Yeah, I'm just trying to find holes in lines, guys. So let's go ahead and get today's picks. Real quick, if you guys are new to Underdog Fantasy, in the link down in the description below, I have a link that takes you straight to the App Store where you can download Underdog Fantasy, because you're gonna want to hop in on the action this year. They have added a whole bunch of new features to Underdog Fantasy this year. Starting with the brand new insurance feature, okay? This insurance feature is a new thing that has been super requested for the fans and the customers of Underdog Fantasy. Essentially, all you do is you click insurance right here. And if you can see right there, all you have to do is hit 4 of these picks to win, but the value does drop down. So if you turn off the insurance, you do a $10 bet, you obviously get $200. And if you turn on the insurance feature, it drops down a multiplier down to 10. But if you miss one of these picks, say, Jameis Winston gets hurt or something, he doesn't end up throwing 2 touchdown passes. But everybody else hits, like Lamar, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Justin Jefferson. All these guys hit. You still hit the slip. You just get it for $100. Just goes down a multiplier, which is a huge feature a lot of people have been asking for, so they received it. Also, they have added second half lines now to games. Obviously, it is on. There is nothing up because there's no NFL second half games, but they have added NFL second half. So just like for the Thursday night game, I'll throw up that clip right here. Thursday night, they dropped all the second half lines for that Thursday night game between the Bills and the Rams. They've added a bunch of new features this year. They're trying to improve to get the app better for you guys. Also, when you sign up, if you use code TAKEMYSHOT, you'll get $100 match, up to $100 match and 100% deposit match on your first time deposit. So if you do that, you can deposit $50 to get an extra $50, $20 to get an extra $20. Whole lot of stuff coming with Underdog Fantasy this year. Make sure you sign up with code TAKEMYSHOT. Now let's get to today's bets. Okay, today's lock of the day is definitely an interesting one. I'm going to go ahead and take Yusuf Nurkic over 24.5 points and rebounds today versus it's Portland versus Utah on this one. This one is an interesting line to me. Yusuf Nurkic has only hit the over in his total of 24.5, 5 out of 12 games this season. Only averages 23 points and rebounds on the season, but his line sits at 25. So that's when you got to start to look at the defensive matchup that he's taking on, because really this season he's not had much success. When you're looking at his games, he averages 23 points and rebounds, but he's been a guy that had huge games and then bad games. Huge games, bad games, and one of those guys that kind of just meets in the middle. Not necessarily that does he get 23 points and rebounds every night. He just has big games and then has bad games. So I was very interested to see why his line was so high for a guy that's not really averaging that good of numbers. Really, it's his defensive matchup today. Today's going to be taking on the Utah Jazz. Last year, the Jazz were a lot different team last year, so I don't really want to take into account what he did last year versus the Jazz. But against the Jazz last year with Rudy Gobert inside, he did have 34 points and rebounds. He had 24 and 10 in that game versus Rudy. So that's kind of impressive he was able to do that versus a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every year. The Jazz do give up the 5th most points to centers and the 4th most rebounds. So statistically, the Jazz are very bad. They're 2nd against defending centers, only behind the Charlotte Hornets as the 2nd worst defense against centers in the NBA. The last 6 games is really the big chunk of data you want to look at. The last 6 games for starting centers versus this Utah Jazz team, they are averaging 36 points and rebounds. 5 out of 6 have gone over in that time span. The last couple of games here versus the versus the Utah Jazz. Now, obviously, the Utah Jazz have played better this season, but they have a little bit of a weakness on the interior and inside. The only guy that missed was Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, Isaiah Hartenstein, not normally a starting center, but Jericho Sims off the bench played more minutes and he grabbed 24 points and rebounds. He had 11 points and 13 rebounds off the bench. So clearly a lot of interior success versus this Jazz team. You know, we'll put Isaiah Hartenstein as the stat because he was a starting center that game, but Jericho Sims came in, played more minutes, and put up 24 points and rebounds. So a lot of interior success versus Utah Jazz team. That has me thinking that's why his line is so much higher than what he's been playing this season, because the Jazz have just been giving up so much. When you look at the entirety of the season as a whole, 10 out of 17 starting centers have gone over versus this Jazz team. And just some earlier in the season success, Rudy Gobert had 9 points and 23 rebounds for 32 points and rebounds. The rookie Jabari Smith had 30 points and rebounds. And Christian Wood off the bench, again, another guy off the bench that played more minutes than the starter, he had 31 off the bench versus this Jazz team. So a lot of interior success. And then Yusuf Nurkic is definitely one of those guys that can have big nights. He definitely can, especially if this game does stay close, which I anticipate it to. The 2 surprise teams in the West, right? Portland is playing fantastic basketball, and so are the Utah Jazz, who are currently 2nd in the West right now. So should be a very good game between these 2 teams. So give me Yusuf Nurkic today as the lock of the day, over 24.5 points and rebounds. Okay, then our second play of the day is going to go ahead and be Anthony Edwards today. I hate playing Anthony Edwards. I really do. He's one of those guys that's about as consistent as J.R. Smith. Some games he drops 40, some games he drops 3. He's a guy that I really don't like to mess with, but today I'm going to be taking the under on his 3-pointers that sits at 3.0. He has only hit this over 3 out of 14 games this season. He has pushed in 5 games where he's gotten 2-3, but I just don't think he can get to 4. He's only gone over 3 times this season out of 14 games. Both of his matchups he played last year versus 76ers, he went under in both those games. He only hit 1 3 in both of those games. The 76ers only give up the 6th least amount of threes in the NBA to shooting guards. Shooting guards versus the 76ers team have gone under 3.0 12 out of 15 games. So really even great shooters, and they've played some great shooters. They've played guys like Devin Booker. They've played guys like Bradley Beal. DeJounte Murray has turned into a great shooter. Jordan Clarkson, we all know, is a very good 3-point shooter. They have guys like Gary Trent under. Zach LaVine, they held him under in his threes. It's not like they're just holding scrubs under this 3-point total. They're holding very good elite shooters. Guys like Zach LaVine, I think he's even won a 3-point competition in the All-Star break. So those are great 3-point shooters that they are holding to very low totals. Anthony Edwards is coming off of a massive game. I know that last game versus the Magic, he had 35 and he had like 22 or something like that. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like the first quarter. I think he hit like 5 threes in the first quarter or something like that. He had a crazy game. That's how Anthony Edwards goes. If you look at his last 3 games, 28 points, 10 points, 35 points. He's a guy that jumps all over the place. He's a guy he's like the Clippers. I don't like to mess with the Clippers, and I really don't like to mess with Anthony Edwards, but the numbers are just too good versus his matchup today. So like I said, 12 out of 15 have got under this 3.0 total. Opposing shooting guards are only averaging 1.9 threes per game, so we'll just go ahead and round it up to 2. It also sits at the lowest total of the day, sitting at a 217 total, so they're not expecting a lot of points to be scored in this game. And he's actually played 4 career games versus the 76ers, and he's gone under in all 4 games. So let's make it 5 today. I know that's going to be one of those stats where he's never done it before, and I'm going to bet it, and then he's going to go over. But I'm going to just go with what the numbers say here. So give me Anthony Edwards under 3.0 threes today versus the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, and our last play of the day here is going to be a guy I've been absolutely keeping my eye on. Just kind of been waiting for a great matchup for him to take on. We're going to go with Bol today. A guy that has seen a massive increase in production across the board. Minutes, points, rebounds, usage, shot attempts, shot makes. He is now in slid his way into the Magic starting lineup. Okay, started the year off the bench, kind of got into the starting lineup, and now he's getting solid minutes. Okay, the last 4 games is kind of what I want to focus on here for Bol Bol. In his last 4 games, he's averaging 32 minutes per game, 17 points, and 11.5 rebounds on 13 shot attempts and 7 made shots a game. Also is attempting a couple free throws a game as well. He's having career high usage across the board. Minutes, points, rebounds, assists, or I guess assists kind of. Doesn't really pass the ball that much. But the Magic are using Bol Bol as a primary option on offense, and he's obviously rebounding the ball like crazy because he's the biggest guy on the floor everywhere he goes. Today's going to be taking on the Indiana Pacers. They give up the 4th most points in the NBA to starting centers, which is what Bol Bol is technically listed as a center. They also give up 13 rebounds per game. Now, I'm going to play this total, or play Bol Bol today because of how he's been successfully been playing lately. There's not a whole lot of big stats that jump off the screen as far as defensively versus the Pacers. Not a whole lot of guys have had big games, but they haven't played very many very good centers the last couple of days. This game actually sits at a bigger spread than I was anticipating. They got the Pacers in this game favored by 6.5. Pacers are coming off of a rough game last night in Houston, or against Houston, and they're playing a back-to-back. I don't really like the fact that this game sits at a 6.5 point spread. I think if I was to take a betting line, I would take the Magic plus 6.5. I don't think this game is going to be as big of a blowout as they're anticipating. When you get into the 6, 7, 8 range, you're kind of expecting this game to not be close. They're also minus 250 favorites, so they really aren't expecting this game to be close at all. But I'm expecting this game to be a lot closer than what the books are. Give me Bol Bol because of his recent success versus this Pacers team that does statistically give up a lot to centers. Give me Bol Bol today over 24.5 points and rebounds as our 3rd play today. All right, boys, which means our perfect 3 slip today that will finally hit is going to be the lock of the day. Yusuf Nurkic over 24.5 points and rebounds. Give me Anthony Edwards under 3.0 3-pointers made, and give me Bol Bol over 24.5 points and rebounds. Now, real quick, I don't know if this is okay. So actually, I just got a bunch of notifications. Okay, because the 76ers are coming off of a back-to-back. They did just play the Milwaukee Bucks last night. I had just a little bit of feeling they were maybe going to sit some guys on the back end of this back-to-back because they played a tough game last night, okay? Tobias Harris is questionable. Maxey, they already listed him out. D'Anthony Milton, not on the injury report, and Korkmaz out. So the 76ers right now, it looks like they kind of maybe could be sitting a couple of guys today because they're coming off of this back-to-back. I'm going to keep my eye on it. Honestly, if the 76ers end up sitting a bunch of guys, right, then that probably means Anthony Edwards' line I might end up changing, because if the normalmost guys that are playing for the 76ers aren't playing, obviously the defensive statistics are going to change a little bit. I'm going to give me just 1 second. I'm ripping through here. So the anticipated starting lineup for the 76ers is Shake Milton, D'Anthony Melton, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid. So Tobias is questionable, Maxey's out, Korkmaz is out, and then obviously James Harden is out. So maybe, if a bunch of guys end up sitting for the 76ers, I might end up changing the Anthony Edwards play, but I'll keep you guys up to date on that because it looks like it looks like they're just sitting the guards, which could be a little bit of a problem. I'll keep you guys up to date by the end of the day what ends up happening there with the Anthony Edwards line. Obviously, if the normal guys that aren't playing, it kind of changes the defensive statistics. So hold in on that Anthony Edwards play depending on what happens with the 76ers injury. But that will be, for right now, the perfect 3-slip for today. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right eventually. I know I'm on a really bad streak. This is probably the worst streak I've ever had, probably in my YouTube career. I am really struggling right now. It's not that I'm necessarily making bad picks, just everything that I'm saying to go right is going wrong, literally every single thing. So I just got to burrow my way through it, just kind of keep grinding. But with that being said, guys, I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.